Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the Robert Seller Sports Podcast. Tonight, we're talking about the Auburn Tigers, which is always an interesting topic because the Auburn Tigers usually are one of the most fascinating football teams in all of college football. You know, they're up, they're down, they're all over the place. They got a crazy home environment. It's the Auburn Tigers. You know, if you're an Alabama or if you're a college football fan, I don't need to explain to you why the Auburn Tigers are so intriguing year in and year out. But this is a very special, very unique Auburn Tigers season because – in my personal opinion, I do believe that the Auburn Tigers are going to be one of the most underrated, one of the most really fun to watch teams in all of college football this season. So I'm going to explain to you why I think that's the case, and I'm going to explain to you a lot of my thoughts about why I really think that this Auburn team is going to be absolutely electric this year. Maybe not in terms of record or in terms of, wow, this football team is amazing. I don't think they're going to win the SEC or anything like that. I don't think they're going to be one of the top 5 teams in the SEC. I just think they're really cool. I think there's a lot about this Auburn football team to really, really like, especially their head coach. I really, really like Alex Golesh, and I love their quarterback, Byron Brown. I'm going to talk a lot about both of these guys today. And I get it if you're an Alabama fan, if you're a Georgia fan, if you're an LSU fan or an Ole Miss fan or whomever else that rivals the Auburn Tigers. I get it. You don't like the Auburn Tigers. You're never going to like Auburn. And that's just the way college football works. And I applaud you for that because that's the type of thing that keeps this sport afloat. But at the end of the day, this is just objectively going to be one of the most fun to watch, coolest teams in college football this year. And I am hoping that they at least have a somewhat decent record so that people tune in week and week out to check out what they got going on in Jordan-Hare Stadium. So, as I mentioned, when you start talking about the 2026 Auburn Tigers, you have to start with Alex Golesh. If you don't know anything about Auburn football, you're not aware that the Auburn Tigers were trending in a bad direction with head coaches Brian Harsin and Hugh Freeze most recently. They fired Hugh Freeze, and I think it was late October, early November, it might have been. And I was actually at the Auburn-Kentucky game, which they lost 10-3, which kind of led to that firing. So that was funny. I was really glad that I got to see that game. It was a terrible game to watch, but for whatever reason, I was on a Kentucky high, and I don't know. It was weird, but it was kind of fun. But anyway, jokes aside, Alex Golesh is awesome. I love Alex Golesh. If you don't know the story of Alex Golesh, he is the new Auburn Tigers head coach. He was born in, of all places, Moscow, Russia in 1984, and his family immigrated to Brooklyn when Alex was just 7 years old amidst the Soviet Union's collapse. So just a absolute wild start to the life of Alex Golesh. The fact that he was born in Moscow during the time that the Soviet Union was absolutely collapsing. I don't really know much about my Soviet Union history, to be completely honest with you. But obviously living conditions were not great there. Immigrates to Brooklyn. You can imagine life as an immigrant in Brooklyn probably wasn't the easiest for a while. When his family went to Brooklyn, they were really, really poor. They didn't really have much money at all. And then they moved to Dublin, Ohio in 2000, and I don't even remember, so that Golesh could play high school football. And he was a great high school football player. And a lot of people say that's just what he used to take his mind off things because, obviously coming from Moscow, Russia to Brooklyn and then being extremely poor, obviously, it's not the easiest life. So he gets to play football. He gets to play in Dublin, Ohio. He works really, really hard and started his coaching career as a student assistant at Ohio State right out of high school. So he knew immediately that he wanted to stay in football, knew that he wanted to be a football coach, and climbed his way up all the way to the Tennessee Volunteers head coach from 2023 to 2025. Or no. He was the Tennessee Volunteers head coach from 2021 to 2022. And then from 23 to 25, he was the South Florida head coach. So the fact that he came from Moscow, Russia, and then to Brooklyn, and then to Dublin, Ohio, and is now the head coach of the Auburn Tigers, I just think that's so cool. And if you haven't, been watching SEC football the last few years, you don't know how great the 2021-2022 Tennessee Volunteers were. That offense was revolutionary. It put Tennessee back on the back. Tennessee's program was in the dumpster for like 8 years, and it was revived with Josh Heupel. And obviously, everybody knows about Josh Heupel. He's the head coach of Tennessee now. The offensive coordinator at that time for Tennessee was Alex Golesh. So a lot of what Alex Golesh does is so eerily similar to what Josh Heupel does because he's kind of a brainchild of Josh Heupel. So if you like the Josh Heupel system, if you understand the Josh Heupel system, you will know exactly what Alex Golesh is trying to bring to the Auburn Tigers. And obviously, Tennessee's been pretty successful recently. And I'm going to explain to you in a second what that Alex Golesh system is. But just keep that in your mind right now that he is a brainchild of Josh Heupel. A lot of his beliefs are going to reflect what Tennessee football has looked like the past few years under Heupel. So I love Alex Golesh. He might be my favorite coach in the SEC. He's probably my favorite new coach, possibly in all of college football. And by new coach, I mean coach at a new school. He's got a lot of experience. I love the dude. I think he's fantastic. I think his story is unbelievable. But looking back at the 2025 Auburn Tigers, obviously this was the Hugh Freeze Auburn Tigers. These guys were not really great at all. On my Rob Cell rating, if you don't know what that is, I basically came up with a system to generate efficiency rankings for college football teams, similar to how KenPom works for college basketball, but just a college football version of it. Auburn was 54th in the country in overall efficiency. They were 65th offensively and 44th defensively, which is not great when you have an offensive-minded, offensive-focused head coach. That's the main reason he got fired. The offense was just awful. Hugh Freeze, I'm not going to get into all my Hugh Freeze stuff right now because it's neither here nor there. He's gone. He's out the door. But Hugh Freeze as an offensive mind was terrible in my opinion. He had one of the most talented slot receivers in all of college football in Eric Singleton and completely misused. They did nothing with him. I don't know if he just didn't watch Eric Singleton tape when he was at Georgia Tech. That dude was one of the most dangerous slot fade players that college football had in like the last 10 years. And he just decided to put him on the outside as like a Z receiver. I don't understand it. They used back two RPOs pretty much all day long. It was ridiculous. So bad. So it's good that Hugh Freeze is out of there as a play caller at least. And not going to see any more back two RPOs. Hopefully from Alex Golesh. I will show you a couple that he called against Boise State today, which I thought were ridiculous. But we're not going to talk about that. Hugh Freeze is gone. This is what the offense looked like with Hugh Freeze. They were 15th in the SEC in passing yards per game. Obviously, the Jackson Arnold stuff didn't work out. They were 5th in rushing yards per game, and it's going to be interesting to see if they return to that this year. I'll talk more about it when we talk. Just keep in mind, the entire offensive system is completely different. It's almost pointless talking about last year's Auburn offense because it is gone. Pretty much all the personnel is gone. Pretty much all the coaching staff is gone, and the entire outlook of it, the entire system itself is going to change completely. But the defense, however, will remain very similar because they do obtain DJ Durkin as the defensive coordinator. There's a lot of staffers that are sticking with Auburn that aren't going anywhere else. So the defense is going to look similar, and the defense was much better than the offense. They were 44th defensively in the country in efficiency. They were 7th in yards allowed per game. They were 3rd in the SEC in rush yards allowed per game. Their front seven was fantastic, and they keep their D-line coach. They keep their edge rushing coach, I'm pretty sure. We're going to go over coaching staff soon. But it's just important to keep in mind, Auburn's offense last year, atrocious. Everyone's gone. Auburn's defense last year, still not fantastic, but better than the offense. And most of those coaching staffers and some personnel are returning on the defensive side of the ball. So, speaking of coaching staff, the Auburn Tigers coaching staff pretty much looks completely new. If the names are in light blue, that means they're new coaches. That means they're first-year coaches. And the entire offensive staff is first-year coaches. Obviously, Alex Golesh is the head coach. He brings along with him from South Florida his offensive coordinator, Joel Gordon. He brings along Tyler Hudenick, the offensive line coach. He brings along Cody Burns, the wide receiver coach. And then also from South Florida, the defensive staff brings along DeMarcus Van Dyke, the corner coach. So they got a lot of guys coming over from South Florida. If you want any sort of comparison to how this Auburn football team is going to run, go watch South Florida from that year because most of the coaches are from South Florida. And if you're asking me, Robert, why are you talking so much about the coaching staff? It's my opinion that the coaching staff of a team is like the most important part of a college football team. You know, when you're watching a movie and you look at the movie posters and it's got all the actors up there and you're saying, wow, this movie's got Leonardo DiCaprio. It's got Brad Pitt. This is going to be a great movie. That doesn't matter how good of actors they are if the story in the script sucks, okay? And the people that are in charge of the story and the script are the producers, the directors, those type of people, the casting crew. And if you have really good of those, you can even work around having bad actors because the story's still there, the system's still there, the thing still works from the core. And it's the same with the college football team. The actors are equivalent to the players. You know, it's fantastic to have great players. You need great players if you really want to make a fantastic movie. But at the end of the day, the most important people you want to look at is the coaching staff because those are the people that are really, really going to be in charge and that really have the power over a football team. So offensively, everything is from South Florida except running back coach Larry Potter. They poached him from West Virginia. And then the tight end coach Larry Scott from Howard. I had no idea that Auburn was after Howard tight end coaches, but apparently, Alex Golesh saw something that I didn't see. Believe it or not, I didn't really hone in on Howard tight ends this past season, but maybe I'm missing something. Defensively, DJ Durkin returns. As I said, it'll be his 3rd year as Auburn's defensive coordinator, and Auburn's defense has been pretty solid under him. It was really up and down his first year. Later in the season, the Auburn defense looked bizarre, to say the least. But before it was really good. King Williams will be the returning defensive line coach. Auburn's defensive line has been fantastic recently, so I think that's a great returning staffer for the Tigers. And then they've got a lot of new staffers sort of in the secondary, which is where Auburn has struggled a lot the last couple years. Coleman Hutzler has been all over the SEC, most recently at Mississippi State, but he's also spent stints at Ole Miss, stints at Alabama. He's been all over the place. I think that's a really good hire for him. They got DeMarcus Van Dyke, like I said, from South Florida. And then Tim Banks, who was the longtime Tennessee Volunteers coordinator, is now the safeties coach for the Auburn Tigers. It's great to have someone that's so experienced in the SEC. I really like this defensive coaching staff for the Auburn Tigers. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think the defense is going to be the strength once again this year. But the offense will be more fun to watch, that's for sure. And speaking of the offense, this is the offensive starting lineup as I've seen it mostly on depth chart things across the country. I'm a little tired today. I'm not like 100% all energy, so I apologize for that. But I really like the look of this Auburn offense. Of course, they got a lot of guys from South Florida. Once again, the guys in the light blue are the transfers that are transferring into the program. This offense is pretty much all transfers. A lot of South Florida guys. Of course, again, Byron Brown is the quarterback, as everybody knows. Jeremiah Koger is a big 6'3" receiver they got from South Florida. He'll play the X receiver. Chaz Nimrod is another huge – Nimrod, Singleton, and Koger. All three of their receivers, transfers from South Florida, are big. I think they're all 6'2" or over 6'2". Koger, I'm pretty sure, is 6'3". Nimrod, I think, is 6'3". And Singleton, I think, might even be – they might all be 6'3". They're some big dudes. And I'll tell you why that's important in a second when we talk about the offense more specifically. Also, the tight end let me take my face out of the picture. Oh, shoot. That's not what I was supposed to happen. Yeah, the tight end, Jonathan Eccles, that guy's nasty too. He is an athlete. That dude is big. Just look up Jonathan Eccles and just look at him. He's like 6'5", 230 pounds, and he has those skinny ankles. He can move. He's really athletic and he's really big. So I think he might make some plays for us too. He's another reason why I think this South Florida offense is going to be spectacular. And you might say to yourself, Robert, you're talking an awful lot about the South Florida offense. You want to explain why it's going to be so interesting? I would love to. And for that, we're going to check on the handy-dandy whiteboard, which has not been used in a second. So the South Florida Bulls under Alex Golesh, the Tennessee Volunteers under Josh Heupel, and now the 2026 Auburn Tigers under aforementioned Alex Golesh are going to be running what I like to call wide choice offense. Do this real quick. Wide choice. So a lot of people call it veer and shoot. I think that name's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. I call it wide choice because basically the whole identity and the whole reason that you run this offense is to spread the defense out wide and make them make a choice, hence wide choice. You know, football terminology is really simple, believe it or not. So the idea of spreading the defense out very wide, you see how the X receivers and the Y receivers are all the way on the other sides of the field? Like legitimately, they push the X receiver out. You'll see it. They'll be way outside the numbers on both sides. And basically what that does is it separates the field into three different areas to cover for the defense. You got your middle area right here where the box is, where the ball is being snapped. And that's basically the run quadrant. You know, you got to sit in there to stop the run. And then you got the two other quadrants on the outside that are all about one-on-one balls. And a lot of times you'll see wide receivers out there run choice routes. Another reason why it's called wide choice. And I'll show you what that is in a second if I can get my expo marker. Hold up a second. Okay. Oh, I got to pick up the expo marker. So a lot of receivers on the outside, right? So that defenses will have to commit enough numbers to the box to stop the run. And that leads to a lot of one-on-one out here with corners. And they'll put receivers on these routes where they either run it deep or they'll bend it back to a comeback. They call that a choice route. And a lot of that is geared off if they get safety help, right? So again, this is the defense making the choice. Do you commit a safety over here and make this receiver run a comeback route? If you do that, you leave numbers thin here. And then the same thing on this other side. It's all about making the defense choice. It's all about utilizing space because the defense only has a certain amount of bodies they can put on the field. So if they commit 7 to the box, then they only have 4 to commit all to these other fields, and you're going to get one-on-one opportunities. You're going to get, areas to make plays. And this is completely different than what Hugh Freeze was running the entire time he was at Auburn. So it's a completely new look, and I think it's going to be really exciting. And at the end of the day, will this work in the SEC? Look at the results that Tennessee has had, right? We've mentioned before, Alex Golesh is basically a Josh Heupel. He's a Josh Heupel disciple. Ooh, a Josh Heupel disciple. I like that. I just picked up on that just now. But so for Tennessee, it's worked a lot against sort of the not very good teams in the SEC, the teams with not a lot of talent, teams like Kentucky and Missouri and Vanderbilt. They seem to handle those teams. Obviously, the loss of Vanderbilt this past year is not the best example, but Tennessee's been really good against mediocre to less than mediocre talent in the SEC, but they've really struggled when they've run into the big boys, right? They've only beaten Alabama, or they've beaten Alabama twice, but they have not beaten Georgia. They really struggle when they play the best of the best in the SEC, and that's because obviously in the American Conference, let's just say that a lot of things that teams will do against a wide choice system like this is they'll just put 5 in the box. They'll put like 3 defensive linemen, and they'll put 2 linebackers, and they'll run like 3 safeties and then corners down here. And if this is American, then you can just torch this up the middle with your tailback and run the ball forever, especially if your quarterback is a freak athlete who we'll talk about in a second. But in the SEC, sometimes these 5 players, 4 of them are draft picks, and they're going to be able to stop the run pretty convincingly here without having to commit too many numbers to the box. So this is going to be an interesting play style. It's a very unique play style. I'm fascinated to see if it works or not, but at least it's something different because, as we all know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So Auburn is thinking outside the box. They're going with wide choice. I know this looks really complicated. It's not as complicated as I just made it seem. It's just like 11 o'clock, and I'm tired, and I haven't slept good the last couple of days. But that being said, obviously, I just mentioned the freak athlete that Auburn has. That's not their tight end. That's their quarterback. I love Auburn's quarterback. His name is Byron Brown, as all of you are pretty familiar with, I'm sure, if you're watching this video. But the next thing that we're going to talk about is Byron Brown, and we're going to watch some Byron Brown tape. Now, first and foremost, I would like to get myself hyped about Byron Brown, and I would like to get you hyped about Byron Brown because there are a lot of things, and one very specific thing that he does at a very, very high level. And it's not this clip, believe it or not. It is this clip. Okay, so Byron Brown, he's measured at like 6'3", 230. He is bigger than 6'3". I swear this dude's 6'5". I think if I were to completely guess his height, I would say he's 6'5", 240 pounds. That would be my guess because that's what he plays like. This dude is huge. He's ginormous as a quarterback, and you can tell. And he doesn't play small. Like a lot of times you'll see big quarterbacks that play small. They slide. They throw the ball out of bounds a lot. They just sort of play like they're a small quarterback in a big quarterback's body. Not Byron Brown. This is the stuff that he does pretty consistently. I mean, just shedding. This is a quarterback that's doing. He just broke like 8 tackles and scored a touchdown on this play. Unfortunately, it got called back for holding. But this is just the type of stuff that he does. This is like my favorite clip of all year from Byron Brown. He's gonna fake a handoff, and he's gonna roll to the right, and he's just gonna say, "Meet me at the line of scrimmage, baby." Boom! Oh my gosh, this is what you get to watch if you're an Auburn fan this season. You are not gonna watch some Byron Brown slide highlights. This is what he's gonna bring to the table. Ooh, I love Byron Brown so much, man. I think this dude is gonna be so electric. Those aren't the only 2 clips, by the way. Here's another one. Again, if you don't think Byron Brown is going to finish a run strong, if you don't think he's going to put his body on the line for his team, you are absolutely wrong, son. You're wrong because that's exactly what he's going to do every single time. So that's why I love Byron Brown. I think he's so electric. He's the most fun quarterback to watch on the run in college football because he just doesn't care. He doesn't care about his body. He doesn't care about his physical well-being. He's putting it all on the line for his team. And where have we come as a sport? Where have we come as a football sport and as a country in general? That we keep crucifying quarterbacks for not sliding. I mean, can a quarterback fight for a couple extra yardage? Isn't that what football is all about? And Byron Brown is pretty much all about that. Now, that's me getting pumped up about Byron Brown. That's the good about Byron Brown. There is some bad about Byron Brown, and that is pretty much all of his throwing mechanics. I think that he's electric on the ground. He's a freak athlete. Like I said, he's what did I say? 6'5", 240, right? He's insane. And he's big, and he's fast. And I think he clocked at like 23 miles an hour. This is what Byron Brown sucks at, okay? And you can see the wide choice system, by the way, on the field. You can see the 2 South Florida wide receivers at the top of your screen. They're all the way past the numbers. The 2 receivers at the bottom of the screen, all the way past the numbers. That amount of space is crazy. They're making Boise State, and Boise State's doing it. See, they're putting 5 guys in the box, like I said. But South Florida, just watch Byron Brown's mechanics. He's going to drop the ball all the way down and bring it all the way back up, and it takes so long. If you go and watch Sam Levitt, if you watch Sorsby, if you watch Arch Manning, if you watch pretty much any of the other quarterbacks that are going to be in major college football this year, They are ball out quick quarterbacks. They don't do this big old loop. They don't take 5 business days to bring the ball all the way down and all the way back around to finally get it out. That's what Byron Brown does. Watch this. He's going to snap the ball. This is a back 2 RPO, by the way, which I think is the stupidest thing ever. This is why Hugh Freeze got fired. Alex Golesh, don't run this freaking play ever at Auburn because I'm just going to lose my mind if anyone runs these sort of plays. He's reading the RPO to the field with his back turned to it. Obviously, he's not going to have a good read. I think it's so dumb. But that's not what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the mechanics. Watch him drop the ball all the way. Look how he drops it all the way down, brings it all the way back up. It takes him so long to throw this football. Like, look, I can count after the play action. Usually, it's considered like a really good release if you're under like 0.8 seconds from the play action to getting the ball out. This is Byron Brown. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. Like 2 whole seconds. It takes him so long, and it looks so unnatural and so uncomfortable. Because, again, he loops the ball all the way down and then all the way back up to finally throw it. And it's really frustrating to watch, in my opinion. It's why I think Byron Brown's going to be a great college quarterback. He's not going to see any starting role whatsoever in the NFL because of this just ugly, ugly mechanic. And you're going to see it again right here on this. This is like the worst one. This is going to be like a little 10-yard hook route against zone coverage on 3rd and 10, by the way. Like, this is just a free access throw on 3rd and 10 that Boise State just given him. Look how uncomfortable he looks throwing that football. And you see the wobble? Like, look at the football right now. He's losing the nose of the football. When you're throwing a football, you cannot lose the nose of the football because that is what pierces through the wind, is what pierces through the air, is what keeps it straight. But when Byron Brown throws a football, it's waggling. It's like when I throw a football. And I can't throw a football that well. It's not a compliment. That ball is like literally pointing downwards. Look at it. So, yes, Byron Brown is a freak, and he's 6'5", he's 240. He can run you over, and that's awesome to watch. But he cannot. His mechanics are awful. And then obviously the receiver's going to drop the pass because it's hard to catch a wobbler like that. And look at it again, just one more time. Look at him bring the football all the way down. Look how far down it is. It's below his waist. And then it brings it all the way back up to finally throw it. It's ridiculous. This is not what's succeeding in football these days. And I just think he has atrocious throwing mechanics to pair with his freak athleticism. But one thing that Byron Brown does do really well. Oh, no, this is a showcase. Okay, so another thing that you're going to see South Florida do a lot of. I have a tempo metric that I account for in my Rob Sell rating. South Florida was like top 20 in tempo because they do this. If they ever convert a first down, like they do on this play, a little speed option on 3rd and 6, they look how quickly they get back on the ball to run the next play. I mean, just watch how fast this offense. They're all hustling back to the line, or not the offensive lineman, I guess, but Byron Brown's hustling back to the line of scrimmage. Look at the play clock. It's at 30. They're ready to go. They have the play call. There's no checking. There's no rehuddling. There's nothing. They've snapped the ball already. And the point of doing this, they're about to snap the ball. If you get a first down, basically, if you take a really long time to call a play, it allows the defense to get really complicated. They start being able to run twists and stunts at the defensive line. They start being able to run disguised coverages in the back. But if you pick up a first down and you go fast to the line of scrimmage, it forces the defense to run a base concept, whether it's just straight man-to-man coverage or if it's just, the most normal form of quarters you've seen or the most normal form of cover 3, which is what Boise State, I think, is in quarters in this play. But basically, if you go fast, it forces the defense to be simple. And when the defense is simple, it gives the quarterback easy answers, which is exactly what Byron Brown has here. That throwing mechanic is disgusting once again. But we're going to see that again here. Byron Brown, okay, this is where I think he has a little Jalen Milroe in him. Again, very different quarterback than Jalen Milroe. Some similarities. So one of the similarities is that Byron Brown excels at throwing the deep ball. He's gotten a lot better throughout his college career. He was awful at it in his first 2 seasons. This year, he was much, much better. I do think that he, as a deep ball passer, is fantastic. Where he struggles in the short game, he makes up for it in his deep passing game. And here's an example of that. Just an absolute dime to, I think that's Chaz Nimrod, another one of the transfer receivers that they're bringing in. But picture this. This is a 50 to 60-yard pass downfield, a huge chunk play that they just got. Watch how fast they get to the line of scrimmage to run the next play. It's crazy. Like this is exactly what their offense is built on. Explosive plays, and then we're getting right back on the ball, and we're running the next play. And because of that, Byron Brown is able to get a very simple look, and he's able to use his athleticism to score a touchdown. So That's what you're going to see a lot of with Auburn. You're going to see hopefully a lot of Byron Brown running the football because that's what he's best at doing, and that's what this offense is best at doing. And you're going to see a lot of really, really fast tempo offense. And I think it's going to be really fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch because Byron Brown's going to run people over, and it's going to be fun to watch because it's going to be fast. And I think because of that, Auburn is going to succeed really, really well against some of the lower-level SEC teams. When they play Bama, when they play Georgia, I have to look at their schedule the rest of the way. But they're going to struggle in the games against the big boys. But they're going to be really fun to watch in those other football games. Defensively, Auburn returns a lot of their returning production from last season. Basically, again, the light blue are the transfers. The orange, the Auburn orange, is people that have returned to the team that had a lot of production last year. And the white are players that are returning to the team but pretty much didn't really do anything at all last season. The only player that Auburn has like that is Jared Smith, the starting buck. But they returned a lot of their front seven that made them really good. Cody Sigler is a transfer from Arkansas State, and Andre Jordan Jr. is a transfer from UCLA. I just forgot to change their colors. You're going to have to give me some grace there. But Deshaun Womack is a transfer from Ole Miss. He doesn't really contribute much in terms of experience to the lineup, but he's still a solid player. I think the very important thing to note here is Xavier Atkins returning for Auburn. The way that Auburn runs a lot of their defense, especially on third down, they rely on their linebackers heavily. And Xavier Atkins was one of the best linebackers in the SEC last year. He's returning. He's a veteran. He's got even more snaps under his belt. I think he's going to be fantastic. I love watching Rayshawn Pleasant. He's the corner. I think he's Auburn's best corner. And the front seven is the strength for Auburn, once again, both coaching staff-wise and personnel-wise. But the secondary, I think, is going to be much improved because of coaching staff upgrades and because all of their guys got a lot more experience. So I have a lot of hope for this Auburn defense. I think it's going to be very, very fun. But it's going to be very similar to what we saw last year, which is why I won't elaborate on what it'll look like. I'm just going to talk about how I think it's going to be a strength, especially in the front seven once again. So let's look at this Auburn schedule. I think Auburn schedule is one of the more fascinating ones in the entire SEC. So they start off with Baylor at home. They have to beat Baylor. They cannot lose this game to Baylor if they want to have a really, really successful season in the Southeastern Conference. I think it would be, as a goal, if I was Alex Golesh, I would have it as a goal to be undefeated going into October. I think that's a realistic scenario. You got 4 straight home games to start the year. You have to beat Baylor. Like, if you don't beat, please, Auburn, for the sake of your own fans' sanity, please beat Baylor. Because if you lose that game, it'll just be so bad. And I've talked about you being a really fun team, and you're not going to be able to be a fun team if you're not winning any football games. So it starts with Baylor, September 5th. They should be able to beat Southern Miss, obviously, no problem. Florida, I think, is going to be really, really good this year. I think that'll be a really, really interesting challenge for both Auburn and Florida. I'm really excited to see both where those teams are at come September 19th. As of right now, but like if you're Auburn, you're not going to get very many opportunities to have a good SEC team at home at 6 p.m. This is a primetime game against Florida. In my opinion, again, Alex Golesh, you got to make do on these opportunities. These are the exact type of games that Brian Harsin and Hugh Freeze just simply could not win in their tenures in Jordan here. You have to win the games like this because you're not going to get very many of them. They should be able to beat Vanderbilt at home. I would be surprised if they lose that game, although Vanderbilt has beaten them the last 2 seasons. Then it gets really tough. You know, obviously you have the 4-game stretch of at Tennessee, at Georgia, LSU, and at Ole Miss. I would be happy if you get one of those. If you're an Auburn fan, I think you should be trying to at least tell yourself, I can't expect to win all those games. I think the most likely one to win is probably the Ole Miss game. Maybe LSU just because it's at home. Maybe Tennessee because I don't think Tennessee is going to be very elite this year, but it's going to be tough to out Josh Heupel. And as we said earlier, Alex Golesh is a Josh Heupel disciple, so we'll see what happens. But I do think that Auburn, if I were to predict it, I would say they get out of September undefeated. I would say they're 4-0, and then they win. I'll give them some grace. I'll say they win one of the next 4 games. And they beat Arkansas, they beat Mississippi State, they beat Stanford, and they dropped the Iron Bowl to Alabama at the end of the year, which would be like Auburn hasn't won an Iron Bowl since 2019. So they lost in 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. So that would be their 7th straight Iron Bowl loss if they were to lose in Tuscaloosa on November 28th. They haven't won in Tuscaloosa since 2010 with the comeback. I think that's the last time they won in Tuscaloosa. So it's been a minute. I don't think that this is the year they'll do it. But I have Auburn going a very realistic 8-4. I think 7-5, 8-4 would be awesome for Auburn. I do think they make a bowl game this year, which is a step up. I just think their offense is going to be so much fun to watch. I love Alex Golesh. I love Byron Brown. I don't love wide choice football, but I enjoy wide choice football, and I enjoy it a lot more than Hugh Freeze football. So if you're an Auburn fan, I know that this is like the least energy that I've had during an episode so far this offseason. I'm just really tired. I am really enthusiastic about this Auburn team. Trust me. I am just truly very tired. So I'm going to end it here. But again, if you're an Auburn fan, I would have a lot of hope about this team. Don't expect to win 10 games. Don't expect to go to the playoffs. Don't expect to win the SEC. But expect to be entertained and expect to maybe not be yelling at your TV every single second of every single Saturday this year. Expect to maybe be yelling at your TV in admiration, yelling at your TV in hope, yelling at your TV in amazement, perhaps, as you see Byron Brown truck another LSU cornerback, because it might happen. It might happen. And if you're not an Auburn football fan, if you're perhaps a Georgia fan or an Alabama fan, just know that Auburn fans might be a little bit louder, a little bit more enthusiastic, a little bit more passionate, a little less downtrodden this year than in years past. So if you take one thing away from this video, I really hope that it is not that Alex Golesh is a Josh Heupel disciple, or that Byron Brown will run over your favorite cornerback, or that this Auburn offense is wide choice and that will be really interesting. But I hope it's that you know that Jesus Christ truly loves for you, and he truly died for your sins, and he honestly wants nothing more than to be in a relationship with you and to be your friend. Honestly, like, it's so crazy that the creator of the universe loves you so much. And that love, it's not just a feeling. It's not just a one-time decision. It is a day-to-day choice. And honestly, if God, he built this whole universe for us. Isn't that crazy to think? Like, this universe is huge. We are tiny little specks on a tiny little planet in a huge solar system that we can't even comprehend how big that is. That's part of a huge galaxy that we can't comprehend how big that is. That's part of a huge universe that is ever expanding and that is infinite. It's almost infinite. And if you look up into the sky and you see the stars, those stars are all dead stars. That's how far away they are. The time that it takes for light from a star that far away to reach our planet, that star is like 3 million to 3 billion light years away. And I'm not super scientific. Basically, what I'm trying to say is God loves us so much that he created this huge, ginormous universe and this huge, beautiful earth and everybody and everything on it for you and for us. That's how much he loves us. And if you're confused by what I'm saying right now, or you think I'm trying to like preach to people, I am a sinner. I'm the biggest sinner. I'm as big of a sinner as anybody else, 100%. But I understand that I am imperfect, and I understand that my grace and my strength comes from God. And if I understand that I am imperfect, and I ask for forgiveness, that's where salvation is found. It is found through God and through Jesus Christ. So again, I hope that at the end of this video, you guys say a prayer. It can just be a little hi to God. It could be as simple as a 2-second thing, or it could be a 2-hour thing, just whatever you feel comfortable with doing at the time. Just know that God loves you. He's always here for you, and he will never leave you, no matter what you do, no matter where you are, who you're with, or anything, literally anything. So that being said, thanks so much for watching. God bless. Hope you guys have a great week, great weekend. Go Bosnia, go United States in the World Cup. And I'll see you guys later. Maybe, maybe not. I guess we'll see. But again, God bless and have a great weekend.